Today we are dealing with an interesting topic, a topic that is very close to my heart, and this is the man and the family. And our guest is Reverend Jesse Mwai. Reverend Jesse Mwai is married to Njoki Mwai, and together they have a daughter, Lakini. Reverend Mwai is the senior pastor of Sitam, Ururu, and we are glad to have him.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the man and the family. And I'm just wondering, could you give us an overview? What do you think of a man? What is his role? What do you think of him as the husband, as the father?
Well, I think, at least from the scriptures, first of all, man was created first, actually before he was created. So already in itself, that gives us a clue as to why God created man. So at the very, very beginning of the book of Genesis, in the whole story of creation, man is supposed to have priority. There's a certain level of leadership a man is supposed to exercise. Not just in the family, but in creation basically. Because after God had created everything, the whole created order, animals and everything, then he made man in his own image and gave him certain responsibilities over the creation. And then later is when now he created a woman. Now, not to suggest that a man is superior or better than woman. It doesn't mean that. It just means that as men have their responsibility, and women also have their particular purpose and responsibility. So from the very, very beginning, I think just having that whole idea that the priority of man, there's a certain mandate that man has as a man to exercise dominion, to exercise leadership, and to put things in order, to look after God's creation. He's supposed to be in communion with God. Remember, the first man was in communion with God. He walked with God. There was a relationship, a very strong relationship, a very strong bond between him. Remember, he couldn't relate to the animals, all right? But he was supposed to exercise dominion over the animals, all right? And that particular, before woman was created, it was just man and God himself. So the only being that was created in God's image was actually a man, right? So the importance of that priority in terms of creation, the importance of priority in terms of that relationship that he had with his creator. So just from the very word go, even before you go into many other discussions, just having that at the back of your mind is very critical and I think very important.
Okay, and the man, and that's what you said is very important and it's very interesting that then it gives us a view of who the man should be, what he should be doing. But as the head of the home, what should the wives expect from the husbands? What are they supposed to do?
The man is supposed to be the head of his home. If God has given you a wife and blessed you with a family, with children, your God-given mandate, all right? This is not by popular vote. This is not a societal issue. This is not a cultural issue. This is a God-given mandate. The man is the head of the home. All right? Even Paul puts it very, very clearly that the head of woman is man and the head of man is Christ. There's a certain order because God is a God of order. God has a certain hierarchy in the way he governs the universe, in the way he governs mankind. So man has that responsibility. He's supposed to be the head of the home. Now the head of the home is not so much a title, but a responsibility. Sometimes we just think in terms of titles and position and, that this is as a head of the home, I should be treated in a certain way. Actually, that is not really the picture. When you're the head of the home, it basically means you bear the responsibility of your family. You provide leadership. The head of the home means you are the servant of them all. You're not there to serve, basically, as a man. Because culturally, when you're the head of the home, it's like, I have my seat in the house, I'm the king, and everybody serves me. That's not really what that is supposed to mean. As the head of the home, it means you're the chief steward in that home. You're the one who's supposed to serve everybody in that home. It doesn't demean you, by the way. But basically what you're doing, you're actually setting the pace for the rest of the family. You're telling them this is how it is done. This is how we serve one another. Just as Christ came to serve us. He did not come to lord it over us. Now, if Christ came to serve us, obviously, you and I, that's supposed to be our mandate. That's what we're supposed to do. All right? So that headship is important. And the man is not supposed to abdicate that responsibility. So he provides leadership to his wife. Now, providing leadership to your wife does not again mean that you're domineering, because that's what people sometimes think. Those are cultural issues that we have. It does not mean that when you cough everything comes to a standstill. It does not mean that you're there physically abusing. No, that's not headship. Right? In fact, that's weakness. If you're trying to ask me. Headship basically means that in that role you provide leadership. If the decision that needs to be made, you're the one ultimately backstops with you. If somebody was to come to your family and ask anything about that family, you are the family spokesman. You're the one who provides leadership and says, no, this is the family, this is what, this is the direction that we're going. Yeah. Your wife should be able to have that security to know, I have a man in the house who is a leader, right? And that leadership has nothing to do with your level of education, has nothing to do with how much you earn, has nothing to do with how much property you own. It has nothing to do with your physical stature or your physical size. It is just a God-given mandate that you're supposed to exercise. So you provide, and I'll tell you, when you talk to women and the way God created, as in our various roles, women feel very secure when they have a man who is in charge.
That's true.
Even if she's more educated, even if she has more money, even if she's more experienced in life, it doesn't matter. She wants to know this man will provide direction. When we're in trouble, this guy is going to show us the way out. Right? This man will lead us spiritually. All right? I mean, he is in charge, and women want to feel that sense of security. Children want to feel the same security. So a child, when they come home, they want to know when daddy comes home, it's going to be okay. All right? They want to know that daddy is in charge, daddy is here. I can always run to daddy. All right? Because they want to feel that security. They want to feel secure, that you're communicating and you're taking that headship. If I can narrow it down, all I would say is you take full responsibility for your family.
But is it, do all men understand that bit? Because sometimes it seems as if a lot of men think that being a man is having money. Yeah. Being a man is being the one who says what should happen. You know, I met a lady who was saying, my husband told me to obey is better than sacrifice, so I should always obey him, you know. And I said, no, but the Bible was saying to obey God.
Obey God, not man. That's
not
right.
man. So sometimes I think that it's not understood. But then you talk about all responsibilities and protecting the family. It reminds me of something that happened in my home recently. Very interesting. I woke up, I think it was last Friday, and I went to the kitchen, and as I was baking breakfast, my daughter came from up and said, oh mom, I should have stepped in. I said, yeah. Then she went to take the broom to sweep the kitchen as I was making breakfast. And there was a snake. I have no clue where it came from. And so we froze, and so we ran from there, and my daughter said, go and get dad. So I went to get my husband, and as he was coming, I was thinking, oh my God, you know, this is the role of a man. So after my daughter finished her office work, you know, because she was on a Zoom or something, she came out and said, so what happened? What did daddy do? I said, he killed the snake. And she said, Mom, I'd hate to be a man, you know. Doesn't it scare men sometimes, you know? Are there fears that men have, you know, apart from, you know, even just that physical one I'm talking about, the snake? But what kind of fears do men have when they're thinking of a family? What are some of the top, you know, things that would scare man?
You know, the thing about it, the way men are wired, first and foremost, I think men, because that headship is already wired in every one of us from the day that we were born, right? It's already part of our DNA. I think a man's greatest fear is the fear of failure. To be seen as a failure, to be seen like he did not succeed. And I can tell you that for us, again, culturally speaking, we measure success as men by how much money he made. That's why men tend to be very driven. A man takes a lot of pride when he goes out there and makes money. and he's driving a good car. He can afford to live in a good place, maybe build a home or something, and he can be able to travel. And he has a financial muscle. A man feels like he has actually arrived. Now, whereas that is important, finances are important because, again, the financial mandate and the responsibility, the man should also take responsibility. Even if his wife is earning more money, all right, it does not mean that now the man takes a backseat and allows her to run the show. No. Allow her, let her do her thing, let her make the money and what have you. But me too, let me also go out there as a man and also bring something to the table. And then we work together as a couple. But you find a lot of men, the biggest fear, I can tell you, a man, I can tell you, can face a lion. Alright, physically, he can fight off he will fight off a bear if he has to. He will fight off another man if he has to. So the physical part is not the problem. But to be viewed as a failure, to be viewed like you're not successful, that's why men go down
depending on what you call success.
Exactly. Depending on what you call success. That's why men sometimes go down very quickly when they lose their job. Or when maybe you lose your business. That's a hard place for a man to be at. Alright? Whereas yes, life is bigger than those things. But because that's how we sometimes are. Because in us, innately in us, that God made us. God made us to be productive. God made us to make something. Or to be cultivators. Alright, that's one of the things Adam was told. He's supposed to cultivate. So whatever we receive, we're supposed to make something. We're supposed to be value adding. You add value to everything that you have. So when you rob a man or you take that ability from a man, he feels like you have taken his manhood away from him. Alright? And that, to me, that is usually the biggest fear. So that is why you find sometimes when a man loses his job, this guy who was so loving, suddenly his character sometimes can change. He's angry. He feels like his wife is disrespecting him, but she's not disrespecting him. Sometimes even they get into alcohol, they become violent. Because sometimes there's that fear, he feels like he's a failure. He feels like the wife is looking down on him, people are looking down on him. His friends have taken off. So unfortunately, the cultures that we live in sometimes will push us, to in that direction, to those kind of things. But it's important for a man to be so liberated in his mind to realize that life is seasons. There are days, I can assure you, you can have a good season where materially you are on top of the world. But the things of this world, they have ways.
I know, right?
I'm telling you, you can be successful today. Your business can be doing well today. And tomorrow you don't know what happens. It just goes down. You can have a wonderful job today. And tomorrow you wake up and they have let you go. For no good reason. You can have a good investment today. You invest in something today expecting a good return. And your money goes down the pit. You get, so in other words, then as a man, I need to understand life is life. I cannot measure my success by the things that I have. It's going to be a bigger purpose. There's going to be a bigger role. So that when I go through the down times, it doesn't drop me on my mind. Alright, I will not look down on myself. Alright, I will still be the man that I'm supposed to be. Yes, I may not have money right now, but make no mistake about it, I still have my pride as a man. Because I know this is just a stage that I'm going through. Tomorrow will be a better day, and I'll be able to pick up and be able to move on.
But it's the way the world is.
Yes. Yes.
It's the way, even the way people refer to people who have money, refer to people who have things, I think there's that pressure, that peer pressure. And yet, even from a woman's point of view, I find that women have more respect for men who talk to them nicely.
Of course.
For men who respect them better. You'd even rather a man does not have that Mercedes, but he's your friend.
He's your friend,
Because for us, you depend on that relationship.
Exactly.
And yet, on the other hand, there are times also that we see men as domineering. But don't you think that there are also things that make them want to do that? Leave alone even just the way they view what their possessions.
Yes.
Is it that some of us drive them to to push that?
Yeah. So I think the factors sometimes are many that maybe the things that maybe affect us as men. I mean, the factors are many. Sometimes maybe you find we struggle because we never had a really good role model for a man. So sometimes I'm struggling through life trying to define what manhood is for me. And I'll make mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you find maybe some men who struggle with a sense of low self-esteem. So, and usually when people suffer from a low self-esteem, you try to assert yourself in other areas.
Yes.
And usually in an unhealthy manner.
Yes.
Not in a healthy manner. Sometimes you find societal pressure, peer pressure, my classmates who are men. Like I can tell you, one time I met a classmate of mine. This was like long after, in high school and stuff, going to university and what have you. And I was a pastor, because I'm a pastor. At that time I had just become a pastor. I was still young and everything. And I met this guy who were very good friends in high school. And so just in the streets of Nairobi, I'm just starting off as an intern pastor. I don't have money and everything. This guy, he had gone to campus and he always wanted to be a lawyer when we were in high school. He became a lawyer and a successful one for that matter. So, and he had his own style around him, because he's a man. I mean, man, he's a lawyer, alright? It's just something to be proud of. And remember, when men meet, maybe now things have changed. Usually, like if I haven't met this guy for a long time, usually our exchange is very interesting. Normally, it's been, so what are you up to now? And usually men are very quick to remove a business card. I don't know that people still give you business cards, right? But those days it was, hey, here's my business card. A business card, I'll never call you. You'll never call me. I have to show you that I'm somewhere. I'm something.
Yes. And it gives you my title.
Of course. I mean, you can read my titles in the card. Exactly. I mean, this organization, this is what I do. So the guy, of course, we got into that conversation. He told me he's a lawyer, and he told me proudly that he's a lawyer, and that's what he's doing. So that was my time. He was like, so, and what are you doing? I mean, what happened? So I told him I'm a pastor. And the guy in the middle of town, the guy just burst out laughing. All right, he burst out laughing. I mean, like it's like I had made a big joke. All right, like he couldn't believe. For him, and they could feel it's like, what a waste. Like, dude, man, how? Why would you choose that? We were in the same class.
What things that bad?
Yeah, it's like, what happened to you? Because maybe at the back of his mind that I must have failed so badly in life. Maybe things got tough. I must have just, that's how I ended up being a pastor. But for me, it was a big lesson to realize that as men we place a lot of weight on some of these things, and that in itself, that conversation that we had that day. Interesting, I've never met him since that time. That was already peer pressure in itself.
I know, right?
Yeah, because then I would have thought, okay, now I think maybe I need to change a little bit, and maybe pursue something that is more dignified, more acceptable by everybody else. And men go through that all the time. All right? So that in itself sometimes affects us, makes us do weird things, sometimes pushes us into dishonest game. Because I have to keep up. Maybe I belong to this group of boys and everybody is doing, a certain deal and what have you. And it puts a lot of pressure on us. All right? And remember, as I've already said, we did a lot of times, too often, unfortunately, we derive our sense of self-worth from the things that we have, the titles that we possess, who I know, where I hang out, the club that I belong to, the car that I drive, those are the things that really, really define us. So it's sometimes a little of too many things playing around. And then I also tell you, sometimes, especially now for the younger people nowadays, there's also that pressure. You find some of the younger women, their peers, for example, who have done well.
Yes.
Because and thankfully so, times have changed. So our young ladies are doing very well at a very young age.
That's true.
I have a daughter, and that's exactly where she's headed. And I will do everything I can as a dad to ensure this girl, by the time she ever leaves out my house, she will have had the best education possible. You know, whatever I can do to ensure that she has a better start than I ever did. Right? So which means our young ladies are starting life, privileged. But I'll also put it this way. Again, because of the way society sometimes is a bit skewed, sometimes you'll find that young ladies have to work twice or thrice as hard to get ahead.
That's true.
All right? They have it's the truth. I mean, you have to work twice as hard to get the same promotion that a young man will actually get. So because of that, there's already that natural driving in young ladies now.
So they work hard.
They work harder. They know they will not get a silver. There's nothing that will be put on the table. All right? After all, even society, many of African societies, you know that even when it comes to matters of inheritance, who is favored? It's a boy. So this girl knows, growing up, I have a brother. She already feels disadvantaged. She already knows. If anything happened in his home, and that was not here anymore, the young man is already set for life. Me, I'm at a disadvantage. So what she do? She put her best effort, right? So then what happens? By the time maybe she's about 25, that I met young ladies, because I've been a youth pastor in 25, even before they're 30, these kids are driving big cars, and they're good at what they do, by the way. They are on that upward trajectory in their careers, and you can see God is blessing. But then you'll find them, now young men, their peers, around the same age bracket, get very intimidated by that sometimes. Because suddenly, you meet this girl, you like her, you want to marry her, but she's way ahead of you. She has a car, you don't have a car. She has a better job than you.
So even
she seems to be, yes, and by the way, maybe even the young man is even more older than she is, like maybe 3-4 years. But the girl seems to be, and she's very independent. Right? Some of the young ladies, by the way, are buying apartments before they're 30.
That's true.
Right?
That is so true.
So by the time this guy is coming, he's never bought an apartment, he doesn't have much of anything to be there. He's thinking, okay, this girl has an apartment, she has a car, she has a good job, she has a good bank account. Where do I come in? You get the point?
Yes.
So exactly where do I come into this whole scenario? Because I thought I'm supposed to be the provider.
Yes.
I thought I'm supposed to be bringing something on the table. But she already has everything. Right? So then what happens? These young men sometimes are getting very frustrated. Yes, and it's a different thing. What's it? Sometime last year, I think I sat with a two young men, their brothers, and just about getting to 30. And we're just having time and we're just talking. And I told him, Pastor, you people keep telling us to marry the girls out there. I said, listen, first of all, these young people, these young girls you're telling us to marry, they're already used to a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
Alright? Yes. I say, Pastor, like now for you, you're raising your daughter, you take her anywhere she wants, you take her to a holiday, I don't know where, blah, blah. You buy her everything. Alright? Yes. Then this young man told me that now me, I'm just starting life. She's used to living life here. Yes. Me, I can't afford it there yet. How do I convince her to marry? Right. And it was a real problem for him.
It is, but you know what I do not understand?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
When the young men have exactly the same opportunities,
yes.
Why is it that they almost are laid back? They have a father who is giving them everything. They have opportunities, sometimes better opportunities than the girls. True. So that I do not understand. I know we are crazy, but I'll go back to that. But what is that?
I think
how can we help?
Yeah, I think it's that again. Remember, our own societies and our own cultures, the way they were skewed to favor the men. So a lot of times, and maybe it's something that has passed on from generation to generation. That you're a young man, you have to relax.
Kuna shamba.
Mali ya baba yako is waiting for you. So maybe they are not as driven. Right? So sometimes there's that tendency to be a bit laid back. But I think what is most important, why that is so, I think our young men lack role models.
I was coming to that.
I think that is the primary.
Exactly.
Because when you were growing up, maybe our time, and I'm not saying that our times were better, you were taught to be a man. You had conversations with your dad, with your uncles, about what it means to be a man. All right? They demonstrated it to you. I think over time there's been a bit of a disconnect where so some of these young men are growing, but nobody's really paying attention to them. So we think that because I sent you to a good school, I sent you to college, we think that that's all that there is. So they have, by the way, education is not the problem. These guys have good education, but I think
they have good plans.
Oh yeah, plans great and everything, but nobody really took time to fathom. Right? To fathom them and tell them this is how a man is supposed to work. This is what responsibility looks like. This is how you treat a woman. This is how you carry yourself in the marketplace. I mean, this is who you are. For instance, I'll tell you, like traditionally, maybe where I come from. I know that traditionally, when you go to a certain age, your father, as a young man, would call you. If he had 3, 4, 5 sons, he will call you aside. When they become of age, every one of those sons, one of the conversations you'll have will be, I have my piece of land here. It may not be that big, but he will tell you, okay, now you're of age. You see that corner over there? You go and build a house. Alright? That is your corner. You're no longer going to eat at your mother's food here. Your mother will only cook for me, not you. You're a man now. You see that corner? You go and give your piece of whatever. You go and build your little it's called Pigira. Build your little place. Till the land. Alright? Eat from the land. So already there was already a certain push for you. This is what a man. And so if the firstborn did that, it followed. The secondborn son, if the firstborn did it, I must do it. It followed that way. And even traditionally there was always those rites of passage. Different stages that young people would go through. And it was not just their father, but the whole community was involved. The uncles were involved, trying to bring out the man. I think, and maybe I may be wrong, all right? But I think we may have lost something somewhere.
Exactly. I was actually thinking on those lines, and I'm glad you brought it there. That whether it's a daughter or a son, is it right? And again, that's my thinking, that who their father is, sometimes you can almost tell who children are by their parents, by their father, And how much does it affect a child for their father not to be involved in their lives, or to be in their lives but be so wayward,
It affects the kids more than we want to appreciate or like to appreciate. Children, in my opinion, get their identity from their parents, but more so their father. Alright? It is a father who names the children. It was never the mother who named the children. Traditional. It was a father who said, he shall be called. Right? This is my son. Even when Jesus Christ was about to get into his ministry, after he was baptized, there was a voice from heaven saying, this is my son, in whom I am well pleased. That aspect of, like, this is my son.
Giving identity.
It gives identity. Alright? So it is a father who let's talk about, for example, rites of passage, in maybe like circumcision. Who did it? It was a father.
Yes.
Isn't it? It was a father who led the whole process. Alright? In other words, the father's role was so crucial, so critical. No wonder we name our children after our father. Alright? Yeah. So my daughter is called after me because she gets her identity from me. Whether she's a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter.
Oh, is your daughter named?
No. She's named after me. I mean, she carries my name.
Yes, she carries your name. Yes,
she definitely carries my name. Alright? And she's proudly carries that name wherever she goes.
Oh, yes.
All right. So when she says, "My name is Kenya Mwai,"
Mm.
what is she saying? She says, "I belong to I'm my father's daughter." Make no mistake about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, it's not just a name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It is my role in her life.
In her life. Because, on the other hand,
Yeah.
if she has not appreciated your position in her life,
Yes.
she will be embarrassed about that.
She will.
But then
Completely.
when you talked about the name naming, I remember Zechariah.
Yes.
In the Bible.
Yes.
Where he was being asked, and what is going to be the name?
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
it was not Elizabeth
No.
to decide the name.
It was Zechariah.
And that is...
It's powerful. And
yes,
we don't
so
sometimes
profound.
to realize that. I mean, even when you look at the Old Testament, for example, in the Bible, it was always the men who took that leadership. All right, to say, "This is my son. This is what I will do." There's one time in the Bible, Moses was a man of God, but there was a time he messed up, and he was met on the way, on the road, by an angel who almost killed him. You remember? Because he had neglected to circumcise his son. The wife was so angry, she came and actually circumcised his son. And she told him, "You have become a husband of blood to me." All right? She did what the husband should have done.
Yes.
All right? Because he was not there. And a lot of times you see mothers doing that.
That's
and there's
true.
a place, because again, the mother sometimes will step in where the father has actually failed.
Because there's a gap.
Yes, there's a gap. And you see a lot of women do it, which is okay. By the way, it's perfectly okay. However, it is more powerful if the father himself does what he's supposed to do. Let me, for example, so men, fathers are supposed to teach their sons who a man is supposed to be. For the girls, I'm supposed to demonstrate to her what a man is supposed to be. And I normally say this: one day my daughter will get married, right? Her first impression of who a man is and how she's supposed to be treated, right, is from the father. Not her first boyfriend.
That's true.
In other words, for her, she's my daughter, but she begins to understand, oh, this is how men are supposed to, this is how men treat women. When she says, "The way I treat my wife."
Exactly.
Oh, this is how men are supposed to love. This is how they demonstrate love. This is she's supposed to feel secure. So that now when she's of age and men are interested, boys are interested to come and maybe want to make her, they want to marry her, she already has a frame of reference.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I'll tell you, a lot of times they say, I don't know how to, but I suspect it is true. People normally marry somebody who is like their dad. Alright?
Yes.
So if your father was abusive,
oh my goodness.
that girl is in trouble.
Because she's going to
Because for her definition of love is someone who slaps me. Because that's what she saw the mother do, the father do.
And she doesn't realize, isn't
She
it?
doesn't realize it. If the father was emotionally not there, he's just a wall, he's just there. Guess what? She marries a fellow. And for the rest of her life, trying to get this guy to respond emotionally.
Wow.
Because for her, she thought that's how a man is. But if her father was a good man, who loved her, who had no problem expressing his love to her, protecting her, talking to her, has a relationship with her, all right? And respected her and treated her like a queen. Guess what? Her standard of who a man is and the man that will marry her suddenly shoots up. All right?
And even her worth, isn't it?
She has she's worth. Because for her, she's saying, this is who I am, this is how my dad treats me. So why would I allow somebody else to come and treat me any less than this? So she can smell a fraud from a mile away. Alright? She just be looking at her and saying, no. Alright? She can, her decision and her choice of men will be greatly influenced by how her father treated her. So if you don't want your child to end up in an abusive marriage, if you don't want your child to end up with the wrong fellow, then be the role model. Be the man you want your daughter to marry. Be that man. Don't expect your daughter to do any better than you.
Yeah. Yes.
That's. I know that sounds harsh,
Mm-hmm.
but don't expect your child to do any better than you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to bring you back to the man as the husband.
Yes.
But before I do that, you made me think of something. My girls kept saying, "Oh my, mom, when we were in campus, there are guys who are so dirty, but now, Dad has put a certain standard,
Yes. Yes.
of cleanliness
Exactly.
that it is so hard for me
Yes.
to marry a very dirty
Of
person."
course, she wouldn't even think of it. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I bring us back to the man as the husband,
Yeah.
his role and what part, and again, maybe you've already alluded to it as you're talking about the child. But in this era, there are marriages that are falling apart.
Yeah.
So much. What role do you think a man plays in it? Because a lot of times, and again, I speak to women a lot, and I remember a lady telling me, "Oh, they've told me foolish women bring down their home just like that, and she was feeling, but he's done ABCD, What do you think is the part of the man in the marriage? Because my thinking is that 90%, maybe 85% of the marriages that are not going right, it could be that somehow there's something that the man is not doing. And I could be wrong, but that's my thinking.
I tend to think in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes when we say some of these things, normally people, will argue, or even the woman has a role to play. But if you're the leader, you're the head of your home. If man is the head of woman, it basically means that the success of that marriage squarely lies on the shoulder of the man, primarily. All right, as hard as that sounds. I'm not saying that the woman has no. Of course, she has a responsibility. She definitely has a responsibility. But a lot of times, women normally tend to take the lead from their husbands.
Yes.
All right. So I cannot expect my wife to do or to go where I'm not leading. It's my job, really.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that I'm domineering her or anything. And I think, and I can say a lot of things about husbands, but I normally like saying this. A good husband, if you really want to be a successful husband, a good husband is a dead one. In this sense, a husband, my natural inclination is to demand my way. My natural inclination. I mean, that's the sin nature in me, is to demand. No, you must do this, you must whatever, you must draw the line, and the man in this house. That's my natural inclination, right? But a good husband is one who dies to the self. And I take that normally from Ephesians. Yes, you die to the self, you die to your own selfishness. Ephesians chapter 5, when it talks about marriage, and it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. So I keep saying, and that's where that phrase I normally take it from. Christ loved his bride, the church, that he chose to die for her. All right? Yeah. So it means if I'm supposed to love my wife is my bride, it means then I should choose to die daily for her. So that I can present her to myself, not to anybody, without spot, without blemish. So if my wife is not doing well, I need to check myself first. All right? That means then, if Christ died for the church, so that he may redeem her, he may save her, and present it to himself, a bride without spot, it means then the same principle works in marriage. Let me die to my selfishness, because I know men naturally we can be selfish. Exactly. That's our natural inclination.
Yeah. Well, and women too.
And women too. All right. So do I demand my way? No. I'm not saying that I'm just there like a stooge. I'm not saying that I'm just there now like I don't do anything. No. I provide leadership, all right? But that leadership is more servanthood.
In a gentle
So I'm there to serve my wife.
Oh, wow. I say wow because that's not the normal thing.
It's not the normal thing.
Yeah.
It's not the normal thing. So it means, yes, there are things, of course, that, like if you come to my house, for instance, looking after the house, women are blessed to take care of it.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's the natural thing.
That's
so,
true.
you know, if you want the place to look untidy, leave it with me for a few days. I mean, the things I will not know how to handle because maybe I'm not wired that way.
Yes.
All right? But where I can do something, let me do something. Mm-hmm. Right? In other words, I'm there for her. I am present in her life. Mm-hmm. All right? If she needs me, I'm there. I'm serving her. Mm-hmm. All right? Of course, not just her, but also the whole family. Mm-hmm. All right? I do stuff for her. That's what it actually means to be so, such that I do exactly the opposite what my nature would have me do. All right? Unfortunately, in society, what happens in our culture, when maybe you go to a home and you find the husband serving, mm-hmm. what do you normally say? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And yet, it doesn't make me any. In fact, I think for me, if I really know I'm a man, mm-hmm. all right, mm-hmm. there's nothing I can't do. Because my being a man is not defined by if I now go to the kitchen that now I'm less of a man. Of course not. Mm-hmm. When you're secure in your identity, exactly. Service becomes easy. Exactly. Yeah. Service becomes so much easier. And I've discovered this. When you take that stance, that kind of servant leadership in the home, your wife responds beautifully. That's true. That's true. Do you know why you love Jesus so much? Mm-hmm. Because he's a servant leader. Mm-hmm. He gave himself to us. Mm-hmm. I mean, why wouldn't I love him? I know, right? Right? Mm-hmm. I notice the same thing with ladies and with their wife. Mm-hmm. When you find that in a husband, submission becomes easy. That's true. That is so true. Right? You know, I normally use this story, a few instances from the Bible. I can highlight maybe just one or two. You remember Abigail? Mm-hmm. Abigail was married to a fool. Mm-hmm. Labeled a fool. And I normally say this. Yes. All due respect to all the men. There's a fool in every one of us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But look at Abigail. And this is now where the women come in very strongly. Abigail was married to a fool. But she never used it against him. Oh, wow. Even when the husband did some stupid things that he was almost losing his life through David. Mm-hmm. David was actually going to kill him. Guess what? She should have been happy. All right, naturally. I said, the Lord is good. What I will even do? All right. But you know what she did? She came and saved her husband's life. She went and intervened before David could carry out. Yes, when he baked some cake and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, eventually Nabal died and she became David's wife. Mm-hmm. But just seeing the character of that woman, right? Mm-hmm. That she, even when she decided to cover the shame. Yeah. And I tell you is this: if you're looking for a perfect husband, you're going to be very frustrated, all right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a fool in every man. Yes. But you know what the role of the wife is? Mm-hmm. Is to cover that foolishness. Mm-hmm. All right? Mm-hmm. Or even Sarah, you know, with Abraham. Mm-hmm. I mean, even there was a guy who, you know, Abraham, we know him as a man of faith, which is good, and he's a father of faith. Mm-hmm. But the man also had serious issues, serious problems. Now, I don't know how a woman would feel when your husband lies about you that you're my sister. Mm-hmm. Twice. Mm-hmm. So that he can protect himself. And then he sees you being, the king has sent for you, and he sees you walking off. To the king's house. And he knows what that means. Yet, nowhere in the Bible does it record that Sarah ever disrespected her husband. Right? Mm-hmm. Nowhere does it ever record that she became bitter. Mm-hmm. If anything, Peter, the book of Peter in the New Testament, now tells us and actually uses Sarah as a beautiful woman who women should actually emulate as a wife. Mm-hmm. Her beauty was not just outward, it was also inward. Mm-hmm. That she also submitted to her husband, that she actually called him Lord. Even despite all that. Alright? Yeah. And I try to help women understand that is your role, so that you can help your man also
Exactly.
to carry out his mandate. Because it has to be a two-way street.
That's
of
true.
course, he takes the lead, yes.
That's true.
But if you're married to him, you chose him.
Exactly.
So help him to find his God-ordained mandate. Right? Instead of frustrating him and pulling him down.
Yeah.
Help him. Because if he finds it, you'll be happy.
You very interestingly, you answer my questions before I answer them. I ask them. Because I was going to ask, when you find this person that is so domineering, so controlling, what do you do? And I think that's what you have answered. But you know, there's also the relationship that can be like there's a fire and a nice one, where you collude to do the wrong things, you know. And I know there's a lot of talk about submission.
Yes.
And how do you submit and are able to help your husband without seeming like a doormat, but in helping him to get out of that? I don't know, maybe you've already answered it, but you know, there has to be a way that we can do that.
Yes, actually that's why the settle is a fool in every one of us.
Exactly.
And sometimes as husbands may not be able to see certain pitfalls. Sometimes they may be involved in something and they expect your support, but they can't see the bigger picture. I normally say this: it is important you as a woman.
Yeah.
First and foremost, your best friend is prayer. As a good wife, right? So when you see those pitfalls, talk to the man, talk to your husband.
Don't fear.
Don't fear. Tell him, husband, I love you so much. I will not be doing this if I didn't have you. But you, or that person, or that deal, I'm not feeling it. It is your responsibility. Now, I tell you, sometimes men may not take it very well. Because when men are thinking, I'm the man.
You have to lecture me.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they may take it very negatively. But that should not discourage you. Alright? Because I'll tell you this. When you have done your part, and you do it with grace, when you have done your part, leave it to the Lord. And I'll tell you, more than the Lord, the man may look like unresponsive, but you know what? Somewhere he will go and he will be thinking about what you said.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what usually happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. He may come out like he's fighting,
yeah,
but you have poked a hole somewhere. And he'll go and think about it. But I always tell women this, instead of fighting with him, instead of trying to push that agenda, get on your knees. Pray. Alright? Pray for that man. That's one of the responsibilities that you have. Let God sort him out.
Yes, but there's something very interesting. Yeah. As women, we always think we know what is best. And sometimes we may not know what is best. Sometimes they know that the man is saying could actually be the one that will save the family.
Exactly.
And so I think I like your idea of saying pray. Because if you get onto your knees, then the Lord will direct that.
Yes. Because you see, God did not put you there to fight him. You're supposed to be a companion. Alright? You're like the way the Holy Spirit is our helper?
Yeah.
You're supposed to play that role.
That's true.
Alright? The Holy Spirit doesn't come and force his way on us. Alright? So, if the guy is not listening, you talk to the Father. Say, Lord.
To the honor of the man.
To the honor of the man. You are the one who gave me this fellow.
Exactly.
Lord, you sort him out. Exactly. I don't know what to do with him, honestly. But I'll also tell you that a lot of times, as I've said, sometimes the man may look like he's fighting it and all, but usually men value the opinions of their wives.
They do, eh?
They really, really do. Because the thing that kills us is when my wife is not on board. So like for me, because I'm a pastor, I can tell you, and the way God has always led me when it comes to the ministry and everything, sometimes I feel God is leading me in a certain direction, leading us in a certain direction. One of the things I've come to really appreciate about my wife, sometimes she'll tell me, because I've now stayed with you for all these years, I've seen how God deals with you. She normally tells me, that thing, I'm not feeling it. But she normally tells me this, I don't want to stand in God's way. So she told me, let's go ahead. You have my support, I'll catch up. If it is the Lord, I will catch up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'll catch up, you will make it also clear to my heart. And that's how actually we've learned. But if something is completely off, at that one you will just say, that one, I don't feel it honestly. And I'm also learning to respect that. Yeah. Because sometimes she'll say something and I'm so convinced. Until somewhere down the line I realize, actually, that was right. And God used her to save me from something.
From something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think we're going towards the end.
Yeah.
But I want to bring in third parties and how the men protect or do not protect their wives. I'm thinking about, when I think about third parties, I'm thinking about even for you in the church, you know, and even for the rest of the women in the home, in our relationships with our spouses, with our relatives, with our in-laws. How does the man come in? Because, and again, I'll tell you what my view is. Sometimes I think that when there is a very bad relationship between the in-laws and the lady, sometimes it has something to do with the man. In the sense that, yes, there can be those in-laws that are just nasty, and they will be nasty whatever you do, but they will keep their distance if the man is being protective. However, there are times when the man leaves the loophole that a lady can be told something, she can be told off, and he's just, I don't know. What would you say about
me? I you know, I don't want to say, I mean, when the day you married your wife, and the day your wife married your wife married you, you became one, right? Automatically, everybody else was excluded. In my opinion,
you know,
everybody else was marriage. I know in Africa, the way we think about it, marriage, biblically speaking, is between two individuals, not between two families.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
There's a man and a woman, the two shall become one. They establish, I come from a family, she comes from a family, and now we've established another family. Now,
with this culture.
Yes. This is my wife is my primary responsibility. Right? That means even my own mother is no longer my priority. So I don't take instructions from my mother on how to run her home.
But you know,
I love her to death. Okay, now she's gone, but I love her to death. I'll take care of her. Or even my dad, when they were there, we'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. But running my home is between me and my wife. And even if I ever receive any advice from my parents, it will be considered among others. It is not authoritative.
That's true.
All right?
Wow.
And I tell young couples this, I have never and will never go to discuss my wife with my people.
You know?
Never. Especially in negative light. At your home, you are she's like this. Never. You know why? Because my people, even if my mom is wrong, guess who they will side with?
Oh, you're right.
Of course it's me.
Right, yes.
Isn't it? Her people, who will they side with?
Yeah.
Of course they will side with her. Me, I say, and by the way, all those years I've been married, I have never discussed my wife with any of my relatives in negative light. And she has never, and of course, yes, sometimes you go home, maybe to your people, and they will try to, you know the way it is, you know your wife, or I never go there. Because I say this, and now this may sound really extreme, right? Even if your wife is a witch, she's your witch. You chose her.
Yes.
Nobody forced her on you.
That's true.
Alright?
That's true.
Even if she's yours, nobody chose her for you. And the day you chose her, you pledged you will protect her. Protect her.
That's true.
That's your God, by the way, will hold you accountable. Right? Did you protect her? You are the one. Did anybody force you? No. When you were, was there a gun up to your head when you were making your house? No. The day you married her, she became your responsibility. Protect her. So never allow relatives or friends, whatever. I tell you, please don't go discussing your husband in a channel.
You know?
sometimes they go discussing them in a chama, and they'll be there. You get all kinds of opinions.
You know?
But you're getting opinions from people whose marriages are failing.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting opinions sometimes from people whose marriages are failed a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're happy to see you in a happy marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Of course not.
And you could have told the man what you're telling the
Yes.
other people.
Yes. So I say, if you have issues between the two of you, it is between the two of you. You go and talk it out. I've counseled couples, and sometimes I tell them, you know what, I can sit here and talk to you from morning to evening, all right? But at the end of the day, unless the two of you can sit down and agree, I'm wasting my time. Yeah. I tell them, I mean, because what can I tell them that is going to save that marriage? Unless both of them are willing to talk to one another. All right? But I always say, man, please, first and foremost, take the lead. Take the lead in that marriage.
Yeah.
If things are going wrong, you go and take the lead. Usinyamazie mke wako ati because ati for 2 months ati no, you go and tell her now umenyamaza sana. It's your home.
I know, right?
Umenyamaza sana, please, okay, what is the problem?
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
What's the problem? Let's talk. We could be addressing the problem. Yeah, in my house, I'm telling you. Yeah. You want to tell me that woman will not talk to you?
She will talk.
She will talk.
Because women like to talk.
Yes.
You know.
She will talk. And you sort it out.
Exactly.
And then sometimes you discover you not bigger. You know, sometimes that is neither here nor there. Alright? But the principle is I keep telling couples, if you're going to look for counseling, that's a different matter altogether. But even when that is concerned, you consult one.
That's true.
Go and ask your wife, by the way, I need some counseling.
Who can do this?
Who can help us? Or would you give me permission? I need to go and talk to my pastor or a counselor. You know,
so that they're not surprised.
Yeah.
That you went behind the back.
Exactly. Because the worst thing that happens is usually when one party goes maybe and talks to a third party, and so the other one feels ulienda kunianika huko. And that already in itself will bring more.
It's another problem
added
to it.
Yeah. So I always say, I don't think there's anything in marriage that is insurmountable, in my opinion. I think
mkikaa chini,
you can agree. You can agree. I really think, but please draw a boundary where, especially in-laws are concerned. Even when it comes to money matters, I know you can ask about money, but even when it comes to money matters, you know, where in-laws are concerned, you have to be very careful. Because sometimes in our traditions you find, because I'm the son, you find my people, maybe my parents are there, for them they believe that pesa yangu ni yao. You get?
Yes.
So a lot of things you have to do very early in marriage, I realized. You have to do that boundary. So you tell your parents, we will be here, we will help you, right? Where we can. But my money, see, it belongs to me.
And maybe it's also nice for them to know that when you give them money, your wife knows. Because there's this tendency of always wanting to, the wife moves away and then they give her money.
It's not proper.
It's not proper, isn't it?
You know, my wife is an amazing woman. You know, sometimes she will just say, send me whatever, an M-Pesa. And say, this is for because both my parents are not there. But I have 2 aunties, right? Two aunties. Both of them are married to one of them is my father's sister. The other one was married to my uncle, brother to my dad. So she normally says, on your side, those are the only 2 mothers we have left. So you know what she will do sometimes? Every now and then she'll just send me some M-Pesa and say, please send to our aunties. You get? So even when I send, they know it's from us. All right? And I always think that that's what we should do.
That's true.
Yeah. So like for me, as a husband, I say, by the way, it's been like a long time maybe since we saw your relative or somebody, what can we do?
Exactly.
Okay, so that it is that, not those ones of me, I only think of my own people, I don't have to No. They should always be. It's not proper, it's immature, and will bring problems. Because the day you go married, we'll talk when this is now your family. So that even in the event that, for example, the Lord takes maybe the husband home, right? I don't expect my siblings to come and take my whatever
Property.
from my house. It belongs to my wife and my child.
That's true.
Whatever it was there, if I ever had anything, that belongs to my wife. She's the primary custodian. Once I'm gone, it's her responsibility now. She does whatever. I don't expect a brother somewhere, a sister or a cousin or some uncle now to come to my house and start to TV. Never. That's true. I mean, that's. I would never allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would never allow that.
You know, you made something come to my mind, and it's about dreams.
Oh.
You know, because when we come into marriages, you don't just come. You come, you have your dreams, I have my dreams.
Of course, yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, how should this be handled?
Yeah.
Because there are things I'm thinking. For example, probably there was a time I was thinking, if I never have household of love, I'll not be happy, you know.
Yes.
If I never have this organization, I'll never be happy, you know. How can couples, and from the man's point of view, how can that be dealt with? Because there's a woman wanting to go to school, and the husband says, no, you cannot go to school. You know, I
think just two things on that. I think on the one hand is you must be willing, of course, to accommodate each other's dreams. I think because marriage is a two-way street.
Yeah.
Remember, even when you're marrying this person, they are a whole entity in themselves.
That's true.
And they didn't come there empty-headed. They were bringing something to the table.
Yeah.
And by the way, if they do well, it will be a blessing to the whole family.
That's true.
Right? So if, for example, maybe your wife is a woman and she wants to go and do a master's, and we can be able to do it, why not? Let her go and do it. Let her pursue. Let her feel that sense of she's accomplishing something.
Yeah.
Because after all, even if she gets a better job and maybe a promotion, and she makes more money, who is benefiting? The whole family.
That's true.
You get so. But then
that's
also
easier said than done.
I know it is, but I wish we would just come with that mentality that let's support one another. That's true. Right? That's true. The other thing I would say about that is in marriage I've learned you get what you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate for. So sometimes we come, I'm expecting this, I'm expecting that. Until you sit down and negotiate with your partner, you're not going to get all those things that you want.
That's true.
Negotiation basically also means this is what I want, this is what you want. How does it relate?
Exactly.
What can I give up? What can we give up at a certain? In other words, you keep negotiating. Yeah, I know you wanted to buy a Range Rover, right? Maybe the husband, I want my Range Rover, I've been saving for it. However, alright? So let's first pay school fees. The Range Rover will always be there. You negotiate. Or me, I want now the lady, I want to do my masters. Okay, fine, no problem, you want to do your masters. But right now, is it the right time? Our finances may not really be there yet, or we have a two-year-old child. Right? The masters will mean you will not be at home. I know. This child still needs you. You have a job, and the child. Are you going to be able to handle a master's, a job, and a 2-month-old baby? Or you get what I'm saying? So you negotiate. So you defer certain things. You can say, hey, this one let's defer to a certain point. Or this one let's give it up. Or this one, why don't we combine our forces and do a better thing? Exactly. You keep negotiating. But I've also learned, it's never that serious. There's a whole lot of things when I was a young man that I imagined I want this, I want that. And then you get to a certain point and you say, life is not that. It's not that serious. Even if I don't get those things. Yes. If I never fly my own helicopter. Whatever. I mean, you get. That's true. So some things you learn to give up. It doesn't make you any better or any worse. Yeah. So but you learn that's what life is all about. Okay. You learn some things, you give up some things, others you pick them up as you're moving on. Yeah. And life moves on. Yeah. But it's never that serious. I keep telling people, by the way, it's never that serious. That's serious. Yeah. Find things that you can enjoy life for. Yeah. Because life is short. Life is very short. So find things that as a family, as a couple, you can laugh about. Find things that you know will be fun for all of you. Make memories. One of the things we do in my family now, because we're just the three of us, and of course now with my wife's mom, we say, let's make memories. Let's make memories, especially for the sake of my daughter.
Yeah.
Let's make memories. So we travel. We love to travel.
Oh,
We eat out. We do stuff together. We enjoy somewhere, just go and eat nyamachoma somewhere and stuff. We say, you know what? Because we're not the same time. It's these memories that really will count.
Yes.
That my daughter one day will be able to look back and say, wow, I came from a good family.
And those would be moments to look.
Exactly. And they will give her, and she will always feel that sense of belonging. I belonged to a good family. Oh, my dad was like my mom. They took me here. They took me everywhere. And then the other thing I always say, like to my daughter, I said, where if God has blessed me in certain ways, and we can be able to give her certain privileges in His life.
Why not?
I don't want a man to impress my daughter with those things. So if one day maybe she's of age and a fellow comes to tell her that I will take you to Mombasa, she will not be impressed. You get what I mean?
Yes.
She'll be thinking like, oh, okay. Go to Manda, my dad took me there.
Yeah.
So she will be looking for something else.
Exactly.
I should be looking for quality character, not hey, I'll take you to a holiday, I don't know where. She'll be thinking, been there, done that. What else do you have to offer?
Exactly.
Yeah. Apart from being bling bling, apart from all these things, because of those things, I have no value for them anymore. So when I say, if I can do that for her, let me do it.
Wow.
And we create memories.
Wow, I think we've come to an end. I don't know whether there's anything that you want to say that you think it should be nice to be said, before we just...
I think for me, I'll just say simply, life is for living. And if there's one thing also, this season has taught us, especially COVID, the lockdowns, seeing so many people dying, which has been very unfortunate, very sad.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest wake-up calls has been like, life is for living. Life is very short. It's shorter than we think. Stop putting off things that you can do today. Whatever you can do today, live today. Don't stop putting off things for next week, for next year, when I get this or when. No. Life is for and especially the most important things in life are the relationships that we have with our loved ones. At the end of the day, when I'm gone, when you're gone, Julia, that's what will count. It's the impact that I have on the people who were in my life. It's not how many cars I bought. It's not all those things. It's just that let's use things to build relationships. Let's use things not for themselves, to build relationships. That's what matters. That's all I can say for you.
Thank you so much. This has been a good discussion, and thank you so much for all that you have to say. It was a nice interview. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
Right.
Appreciate it.